Just want to begin today and really start our spring 2019. We're ready to kick off practice on Saturday, and excited about that. Really pleased with the work that our guys have been putting in the weight room the last 8 weeks, and just going to finish up that cycle here today and tomorrow. And really excited about the growth of our team physically. And Coach Ballou and his staff continue to do a great job developing our guys, and with the addition of Kalen DeBoer and that whole dynamic of being able to install a new offense, and those are probably the two key things that we've been focusing on here the last couple months, is being able to get our guys right, in the weight room. And just kind of to mention a few guys, I think it's important to recognize guys. There's the common ones you expect, but some young guys that really, I think, have responded very, very well to Coach Ballou and his staff. Jonathan King is a guy I really and looking forward to seeing him perform here this spring. He's put on a lot of good weight and learning how to really train and discipline himself to be special every single day, and really love his mindset and his attitude. Gab McCabe's another young guy that we redshirted that really feel like is a chance to really grow on the field. He's really worked hard. He's our strongest defensive lineman, which is 600-pound squatter, which is really impressive for a redshirt freshman. And love his mindset once again, just kind of when you talk about his care factor and doing everything you ask. I just love the way he's worked. And Matt Bjornson's another one, that did play last year, but just works so hard, and he's maximized everything that he has. Caleb Jones, another one I think is really of power development we're looking for, and his expectations for him to step up and elevate his game and be a guy we can count on and be one of our starting offensive linemen. That's my expectation for him, and so just really encouraged by his response. Stevie Scott's another one that really didn't have a chance to really work a lot with us last year because he came in July, and so just really feel like that he's a guy that really has bought in, to being able to take the next step. Sometimes guys have success early like he had, and then they have a tendency to kind of let up, which is unfortunate for those that choose to do that, but he has not been doing that. So really a tribute to him. And I could go on and on. A lot of guys, we had a meeting even this morning about some guys, and really encouraged by the group. But those are just some key ones that stuck out to me, and feel like that they have really bought in. As far as Kalen, being able to get everything, installed is the process which we go through. And one of our, we have 3 goals for spring ball, and one of the goals is your schematic adjustments defensively, and then transitioning to Kane Womack being the play caller on defense, and just some things we've kind of tweaked with that. But then offensively, with installing a new system to be able to get that, input the proper way is a big goal. The fundamental development that we have to have on both sides of the football is always a huge focus for spring football. And then at the end of the day, your number 3 goal is to be able to come out with a depth chart, just kind of see where the team falls by the end of the spring campaign. So really looking forward to that. I always like to be able to have this time to talk about any changes on the roster. I have had very few of those. Pretty much things have been going as we want them to go. Drew Conrad's the guy, though, that has moved on. It's really only because of his academic pursuits and the way that he needed to go towards that and his future and what he's going to be doing. He's got some great opportunities. He's going to be a highly successful businessman, and I really appreciate all he's done for our program. So he will no longer be with us, but that's just because of him just having to go and put all of his energy into his future, which is what he needs to do. So really appreciate him and all that he's given to our program. And no update with Jack Tuttle. I'm sure some of you would ask that, but if I had one, I would give you one. But we're still waiting for that response. And just have a whole bunch of guys right now that I'm really excited about getting them out on the field and being able to play some football again here real soon. We've got our guys at the Combine. Excited about them being there right now, and a couple of them already taken off, and with Brandon Knight and Yeah, Dan. I had a good talk with Dan yesterday. As a matter of fact, he's the only long snapper at the combine that they invited, which is pretty special. So, did a phenomenal job at the senior game, the Senior Bowl, which is led to him getting this invitation. So really changed his body. He just continues to develop. Comment about that. So and then Jonathan Crawford will be there on Monday to compete. Be there a couple days prior to that. So excited about those guys and the opportunity they've been given at the combine, and then a whole bunch of others that are working really hard for our pro day. Ready for questions?
I know you've talked about Coach, excuse me, Coach DeBoer as kind of the head coach of the offense, but I imagine you guys are having some pretty intensive conversations. What do you want installation to look like offensively through the spring in terms of sort of fundamentals versus maybe finer points of scheme?
Yeah, it's a balance. You know, there's a lot of you increase your individual work during spring, which is pretty typical, and that will continue. So for our guys to fundamentally to improve. And we've gone through a progression of install that we feel comfortable with at this point, and you always go through and kind of adjust it as that process unfolds. But we want to move pretty slowly. You know, I want our guys to feel really good about what they're doing. I want them to master the concepts and won't see as much movements and things out of that you may see later. But you just kind of get your foundation laid. A lot of the verbiage, communication, and there'll be some carryover for sure. There'll be some things that will. You know, we may call it differently, but it will look similar, to the outside eye. But for our guys, they're learning some new way of communicating and the way we transition and the way that we operate as an offense. And so that will be the main objective, is to feel really good about the base things that we've identified that we want to be good at, both running the football and throwing the football.
You brought up Gavin McCabe and Jonathan King, obviously two guys who were part of a freshman class that saw the field a lot, especially on the defensive side of the ball last year. Just, I guess, how much higher are your expectations for that class as sophomores this year, given the experience they got and just what they contributed to the defense last year?
Yeah, I think that I would consider them high expectations. I think that we lost 8 starters a year ago, and that group had to absorb that. And as you saw, that was done by committee. We played in some games up to 30 guys on defense. Definitely want to continue that trend of playing a lot of guys. I believe in that. I think that the way the game has transformed over time, that you need that in the course of a 13-game season and beyond. And so I just think that our guys that were in that class that played so much, a lot of them were probably playing too much too soon. But it was the situation that we were in, and they were the best players on our team, we felt like, and so they got those opportunities. So, but I just think the physical growth has been, really, Cam Jones is a guy that you're going to probably see this spring move around. He's played the Husky position. We want to play him the free safety position. We're probably going to even give him some cross-training at the rover position. I just think he's a very versatile guy. He's one of our best athletes. And then when you talk to our strength staff, his work ethic is I could have mentioned him as one of the guys as well. And so same with, with Monster, Devon Matthews, and he's going to play both safety spots. We're going to be able to cross-train him there, and I think that's critical. But those kind of guys, and even Fitz, that was his freshman year last year, and for him to take that next step, and all these guys, and with Thomas and Micah, and James, those 3 young linebackers, and they got to elevate their play, and that's a big part we expect. And Raekwon's that leader of that group, but at the same time, there's a lot of talent around him. And those guys got to take that experience, and we've done it, And like Mike is a guy I could have mentioned as well, and Thomas. Those guys have been busting their tails. James, same thing in the weight room, and they've gained good weight, and gotten a step faster and more explosive, but just the confidence that group has. I mentioned those young defensive linemen. James Head's another one that the strength staff always talk comments about. Now he's becoming a leader. He's gotten even bigger, and need him to be. A dominant player, and bringing in Juan, we needed to be, and he's done a really, really good job for us. Really encouraged by his maturity, in the weight room and his mindset change. So that's a group that I expect. I'm not going to sit here and say I want us to be a top 25 defense. That's to me is what I expect, and that's our goal, and that's our objective. And we. It took us. It was a 2-year cycle to get to it. When I first got here, and then we kind of rebuild it with new guys, new faces, and add some guys coming in from the freshman class that I think will come in and have a chance to help us as well. And that's a good thing. But the guys that are here, there's a lot of the corners. Andre Brown is a guy. He's 205 pounds and looks really, really good, and I think it's just taking that next step in terms of his preparation. Now it's got to transfer to the field for all these guys, but the way they've approached the weight, and we've challenged them. There's some guys that they thought they were working hard, and they really, really weren't. They were working, good, but not. How do you become special? And so how do we change and get this defense where I want it to be? And I have high expectations for them, and I think that they have a chance to be a good group.
Coach, access this spring is as open as it's ever been. First of all, thanks for that. But secondly, what's your mindset with doing that, and how do you think it could be a positive for the program?
Well, I think when you do things the way we do them, we have nothing to hide. I think the more access, the better. I think it helps our guys get exposure. It helps, you guys be able to get a good feel for who we are and what we do and how we do things. And I believe in that. We do things in a way that, it's kind of like recruiting. I don't, I'd feel very comfortable from a parent coming out here and watching us practice, because if we're going to coach their sons hard, we're going to hold them accountable. We're going to demand them to be excellent in all that they do, but it's going to be in a way that I wouldn't be embarrassed if they listen to the way we talk to them, And so I just think that's, I tell players, you're not going to get de-recruited here, because you're going to be the same coach that recruited you is going to be the same coach that's going to coach you, during practice. It doesn't mean we're not going to get on you, but it also means that we're going to do it in a way that I think brings out greatness in guys and allows them and forces them to want to be special. So, like I said, I don't have anything that we're trying to let anybody not see. Now there's obviously some schematic things you get into, but at the same time, we're at this point in what we do, been here for several years, and so people kind of know what you do, on offense and defense, and offensively there'll be some changes for sure, but it won't be just massive changes. We're not going to run the triple option, and so, but it's so I just think that I like to give as much access as we can. I think that's positive for our program, and it's a win-win.
Interesting mix of quarterback this spring with a guy coming off an ACL and a guy you're not sure is going to be eligible. I guess, how do you balance snaps in that situation, and what are some of the things you want to see by the end of April to make you feel as comfortable as you can possibly be?
Yeah, good question. I think it is an interesting dynamic that we have. First of all, Michael Penix won't be taking full team snaps, I don't expect. He'll take a lot of skelly reps and throw one-on-ones, and any time we just keep people away from his lower body. He's done a great job, but we don't want anything to set him back. So that will naturally kind of create some division of the reps, and so I see Jack and Peyton getting the majority of them, and then I think that you'll go through and be able to, to me it's, they got to compete. It's a highly competitive room right now, and we, based on what happens, we expect Michael to be back 100% and Peyton to stay 100%, and based on what happens with Jack, for him to be ready to go for the fall, and we'll see how that plays out. But that creates what I consider a very, very competitive room, which is what I want. And in today's quarterback world, as we see every single day, that's a very changing dynamic, and it's hard to get a lot of depth at that position. And across the country is pretty well, documented about that situation. So I just think that to have three that we believe can lead us on game day and let the competition bring out the best in each one of them, and as they encourage each other, they're competing for a position, but they're also teammates, and I want to see how they handle that, because I want guys that love Indiana football, and they want Indiana football to be very successful, and I get it. If I was one of those three, I'd be wanting to play too, so, but who's willing to do little things right? Who's willing to, at the end of the day, who leads the team down the field, and gets us in the end zone and is able to convert, 2-minute situations, and the team believes in them, and all those things that commands the offense and moves the chains and all the things that you need to do for game day success. So really looking forward to that dynamic, and I think it's three high character guys that I think will handle it really, really well. But I want to see, as the cream rises to the top, I'm anxious to see who just continues to get better and better throughout the process.
Tom, are you looking at anybody to work in spring practice at a different position just to see how they might play out?
Yeah, the only one, and I mentioned Cam already. Having him, he hasn't played a lot of free safety and rover. We're going to give him a shot to do that right out of the gate. So he will be in that spot with Fitz and Khalil Bryant at free safety, and then we got Juwan Burgess at rover, and then moving Devon Matthews from free safety to rover. But that's kind of more of a cross-train type mentality now that he's in his second year, learned the free safety position. Now we want him to learn the rover position. So those would be the kind of the biggest changes, if you would call that a change. And I think that other than that, it will be guys that we'll have. Reese Taylor's going to be focusing a lot on defense, and he'll be a return guy for sure. But want to be able to get himself grounded. He spent a lot of time on offense in the fall. And want to kind of get him grounded on defense here in the spring, and then just kind of see how that plays out, But just feel like I just want him to feel comfortable and confident at a position. We kind of bounced him around different times in the fall, and I think for his future benefit and his development, I think it'd be good for him to be able to get grounded there. And I know he's excited. That's what he wants to do, and so we getting the best players on the field.
You talked about the quarterbacks, all three of them there, but we got to talk to Coach Ballou, and he, really commented on Michael Penix's leadership, how much he feels like he's grown vocally, and I guess he maybe even went so far as to say it surprised him a little bit because Michael had gone through an injury and kind of had to be away from the team dynamic just with his recovery. Just how have you seen him grow, obviously not as a player, but maybe sort of as a leader, as a person through the injury that he's obviously had to deal with here?
Yeah, there's always a concern when a young man is injured. It kind of goes one of two ways. They get disconnected from the team. Unfortunately, just because of the nature of they're doing rehab when you're doing whatever it is you're doing, whether it's lifting or practice or those kind of things. And so, some guys don't handle that very well. And because you're not with your teammates as much in a workout setting, like would have been the case for the last eight weeks, I think Michael, what Coach is alluding to, is the fact that even during that time, he did everything he could to when he was with the players to verbally be engaged, and I think he did a great job of growing in the mindset of, leadership to me has to be active, and a guy that's in a position of a quarterback spot, it's the same with linebackers on defense, but those positions demand production. And they just demand verbal leadership. You can't just be a great example. Everybody wants to be he's a leader he leads by example. That's awesome, but you can't lead anybody if you don't speak, And so, like I even told our leadership council recently, I'm like, hey, you imagine a coach not saying a whole lot to the team, that there would be, he may be doing everything right, but if he doesn't ever speak, he's not going to influence anybody around him, and leadership's influence. And so some of these guys, and Michael's one of them, he has to take that next step of verbally leading the team. And that may not be what he's, personality is comfortable doing, but because he's a quiet guy. And, Peyton Ramsey's a quiet guy too, but those guys have to learn, and Michael's young, and he has to understand about, how do I lead? Well, you know what? It's encouragement. Sometimes it's confronting a teammate. And that's the part where he's really starting to grow and to say, hey, when I see something that's not right, I'm as the quarterback of this football team, that's my mindset, because all three of those guys have to have that mindset that I'm the guy. And so I've got to be able to verbally challenge other guys around me to either change what they're doing, encourage doing something positive, or even off the field, being able to confront a guy when something small is not being done right. And so just seeing the growth in that. And that's something that seems kind of simple, but it's a major challenge to get guys to be able to confront their peers. And we talk about it a lot as a staff, and I think the way, young people are raised with social media, it causes people to be less communicative. And those skills are not as strong as they have been in the past. And I've talked about this with a lot of different individuals, and it's kind of universal across the board. And so I just think the way they're raised, it doesn't dictate to that. So we have to really be proactive, I think, as a staff to get these guys to verbally be able to not just communicate, but to confront and to challenge and to encourage and to motivate, not by example, that's a given, also by verbal. So I just think he's grown in that area, and I want to see him continue to grow, and I want Peyton to continue to grow in that area. And we've talked about that as a team. We had some really good leaders last year, but they were quiet. And that's just not, it has to change. And we got some guys that recognize that and are responding to that.
I was curious if any of the young offensive linemen that you might be really optimistic about or look more physically ready to play now.
Yeah, Aiden Rafferty, he's up to 310. He came here at 265, and has really changed his body. Nick Morosis is up to 300. Another one came in the low 270s range, and those are two guys that we redshirted that we want to, elevate. Britt Beery's gained a lot of good weight. He's well over 300 now, and he's a guy that we really challenged to physically get stronger, and he has. The kind of the big three seniors, we got Coy and Simon and Hunter. Those guys have all gotten bigger and stronger, and you expect that from them. And they've actually, I would say Coy and Hunter have really risen in their leadership. And Coy's never been one to be bashful, so he's always been one of our guys that he's not afraid to confront, which is a great thing. And so it was always just guiding those guys to, when to and what to say, and Hunter was one that's also elevated his leadership as well. So those three guys are kind of the anchor, and then the guys that I've mentioned, and obviously I already mentioned Caleb, and I tell you, Michael Kadick's another one. He's a 400-pound bench press guy that's just got here. I mean, he's a mid-year guy. I think, just looking at Matthew Bedford, he's another one that has got a lot of long ways to go in terms of learning, the position, but physically has a lot of qualities that really excite you. And the thing that excites me about that whole group is just the want to. I mean, all those guys I've mentioned, man, they have really, really bought into how hard it's going to take. And it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of work ahead of them. We got long ways to go, but I just think that there's growth in that room, and that's a developmental position for sure. And most guys rarely come out of high school ready to play right away. Coy's going to be a 4-year starter, which is extremely rare, and on the offensive line. And so that's not usually what happens. And so I just feel like that, Harry Cryer's another one, man, just keeps getting stronger and just got to, continue to develop. So that's a group, that we are expecting big things from. They've got big men lead the way. We say it all the time in our program, and our offensive line play is going to be huge in what we do offensively. And McKenzie's another one that's got to just keep taking those steps forward. And so that's the group of guys that we're anxious to see how they have progressed. The weight room's one thing, but putting it into action on the field is what's next.
Coach, you mentioned Michael Pennick's obviously going to be limited. Any other guys? And obviously Cole had the injury, and Wap had some
stuff.
Wap
Any had his. He's going to be. Wap will be limited. He'll do all the 7-on-7s and individual work. Same with Cole. They'll be doing some modified work. Devon Matthews has some things cleaned up. He'll be out there in the blue jersey, but he's going to get a lot of reps. He just won't be doing a lot of tackling. So Larry Tracy as a just got here freshman has had shoulder surgery, and then Samson James had a little thing he had to get cleaned up, and so he'll be limited a little bit, but he's looking really good. So just overall, not any big surprises. I don't think. All those guys were ones that we pretty much knew. Don't have a long list of guys, but definitely have some. And Alan Stallings is a guy that has a couple small things we've been dealing with. That he's a guy that's going to be a senior. We know what he can do. He's a guy we just want to continue to get healthy. So where I want him to be, full bore by the time we get into fall camp. So I don't see him getting a ton of excess work. So we just want to get these younger guys developed. And get those guys a lot of time. On the field.
Tom, you mentioned about having Reese Taylor kind of focus more on the return game type stuff. Obviously, with you guys having to replace both guys for kickoff and punt return, just kind of what's the situation looking like on those fronts? Are you trying to make that maybe more of an explosive kind of X factor type of play, or what are you looking at?
Especially on the punt return, and with Jay Sean, all he did there, and with his departure, I think Reese has a great shot to be able to give us dynamic plays there. Wap's another guy that will be returning punts as well, and several other guys. Juwan Burgess is another one that returns punts. Marcino Ball, we're going to give him some opportunity for kickoff returns. I think that could be an area where he can really give us some explosion. All of our running backs we'll use back there. We'll use Reese back there as well for kickoff returns. And so, there's no question you're trying to always increase production. We were one of the top punt return teams in the country, but we have to improve our kickoff return unit. It's production, that's a little bit the dynamic there with the kickers and the way they kick the ball and everything that creates some of that. But at the same time, getting the right guys back there. I always say that's the key to great special teams players, high quality specialists, and the return game. The key is the guy catching the ball. What he can do with the ball in his hand is what makes it special. So we'll work really hard to set those guys up. But at the end of the day, those guys got to make guys miss and be dynamic.
How closely are you looking at the Mike linebacker spot? Raekwon, you've got it, the Stinger, obviously, but with Damian Willis gone, it seems like there's a lot of
Damian
opportunity.
graduated, and so Thomas got a lot of reps there last year, and Thomas Allen, and then James Miller. They're going to be battling that out, to be able to see who will be the best guy there. Micah McFadden, played a lot of third down Mike. That will continue, and he's up to 232 pounds, so he's gotten bigger and stronger, and so he'll be a guy that could probably cross train to that spot too. So at the end of the day, we're going to play a lot of guys, but I think those 2 or 3 guys are the main ones competing for that spot, and we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, it's important. That's the guy who runs the defense, and that's a really big part of not just making tackles, but getting everybody set, making all the checks and adjustments, and leading with confidence is a big deal.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you touched on it yet, but LaShawn Minor, has anything changed there? Will he be active, or will he be with you?
He will not be active. Don't have an update for sure, but yeah, if not, he will not be practicing this spring.